Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back. I am at Spring Meadow Nursery. I am so excited to be here with Marshall Dirks, Vice President of Marketing for Proven Winners. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with us. I know we are all excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you, frankly, and you're in our neck of the woods. So last time I was in your neck of the woods, so you get to see the Midwest now.
What was it, February you came and took a look at everything? Your daughter was singing in the choir.
She was part of the St. Olaf choir, and she was in Davis performing at your beautiful hall there.
That's
I got to see your little garden and see the kids' garden outside the fence and everything.
The fairy garden.
So, the fairy garden. So.
Well, you'll have to come back to California and see my new garden.
Absolutely.
Great.
It would be joyful to do that.
Well, you're welcome anytime. So, you have quite the history with Proven Winners. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started with Proven Winners and your history with them and just how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah, Proven Winners has been a great company that I've been working with since 2000.
Okay.
And so I was one of the first group of folks who started working for us at that time. Proven Winners was actually founded in 1992. Didn't have their first employee until 97, and then in 2000 they hired me and some other folks at the time and set up Proven Winners marketing and our customer service and all the plant trialing and sales side of the business. And so I got started. I was working for a brokerage firm before that was selling Proven Winners.
Oh, okay.
So I was one of their top customers, or the company I worked for was, and fell in love with the product that these guys were selling and the passion that they had. And at that time, no one was doing what they were envisioning doing.
Right.
And they asked me, and I turned them down and said, I have no clue. I have done no marketing in my life. Why are you asking me? And they're like, well, you're passionate about what you do and about our plants, and we'd like to take a flyer on you. And so I said, okay, let's try it. So that
with
was
no marketing experience.
Zero marketing experience and
crazy.
zero horticulture other than 5 years, 7 years at this brokerage firm working with plant vendors, and the owners of Proven Winners at the time were big vendors and still are big vendors of that company, and they had the vision. I didn't. They saw it in me. I clearly didn't see it in me, so I give them all the credit.
Now do you see it in you after everything you've done for the company?
Well, we have an amazing team, so it starts with amazing owners. So we're family owned. Each of our companies are family owned. And then each of the licensees, we've got licensees for shrubs and trees and perennials and annuals and caladiums and houseplants and 2 Canadian ones as well. You have to come see our friends up north. Yeah, absolutely. And they're all family owned, and most of them actually live on the property where they operate as well.
Right.
And so,
like here, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anyone lives on this property,
but close, right?
Yeah, very close, right down the road. And so passionate owners, incredibly supportive. We have amazing plants. One of the things that made Proven Winners different from everybody else was everybody was introducing their own plants and trialing, but what these guys said is, let me take all the best from all the breeders who are willing for us to trial them, and let's select the very best, because maybe you're a breeder, but it's the very best plant that you've bred, but maybe I've bred something a little bit better that you don't have access to.
Right.
So Proven Winners sort of said, hey, it's going to delay the process in that plant being introduced because we're going to do some additional testing on that. But having the best genetics has really made my job a lot easier for a marketing novice such as me.
Yeah, you have a good product to market.
Yeah.
You have a pretty good product.
Yeah.
Well, so I've read about you, read up on you and all the things that you've brought to the company. They weren't marketing the way Proven Winners markets now, correct? They were kind of marketing to the horticulture industry as opposed to now for when you came into Proven Winners, you guys market to actually the buyer. Is that right?
Yeah, the end gardener.
The consumer,
right? Yeah, so that was one of the things that they had envisioned doing. But, it takes a lot more resources to talk to 8,000 growers versus 200, 300 million consumers.
Right.
And so it took some time to develop the funds. They always had the vision to do that. So instead of trying to push all the marketing upstream, because the industry is very fragmented. Very few people grow annuals and perennials. Very people grow perennial shrubs and trees and annuals or something. And so
Right.
you've got all these silos across the industry, which makes them all experts in what they do.
Right.
But for them to all believe in proven winners, you're educating every single part of the industry every single time you introduce a new licensee or a new category of plants. And so while we do a lot of activities in that side, our licensees carry a lot of that weight for us, which then frees us up to do the consumer marketing. So we said, one of the main reasons consumers fail or thought they wouldn't garden more is just fear of failure.
Right.
That they thought the plant was going to die. And unlike a computer or a phone or your car when it doesn't work, you typically blame the computer and the car and the phone.
It's a lemon.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And like, I didn't drop the phone in the toilet, sure, I didn't.
Of course not.
Yeah, and so they made all sorts of tests to figure out, yes, in fact, you did get it wet. Oh yeah, I did at the beach, I forgot. Well, when people kill a plant, they tend to blame themselves.
Okay, yeah.
And we saw that there was an opportunity to let them know that there are better plants out there. And that was just like mind-blowing to people.
Yeah.
That they thought all plants were created equal.
Right.
And that they were the same. And that's not the case. And
It's
so
not,
it was
yeah.
such a freeing thing for gardeners to realize that, oh yeah, there are better genetics out there.
Right.
And many of them happen to be called proven winners.
Right.
And so that once we got that tagline going, that really freed us up, and people started really saying, hey, that's the good stuff. And unlike most of the trialing that was going on in our industry, it was being done for growers. And so it was what we call bench trialing or pack trialing and things, and sometimes field trials. But very few were evaluating products at the end of the season in September. They were evaluating them at the end of May or end of June.
Right.
They had done their job. The plants had performed well, and then it was in the hands of the consumer, and oh well if they died.
Right. Doesn't matter.
That was the mindset. And,
Right.
and our owners were like, no. We want the consumer to be successful. And so really their vision to trial for the consumer, for garden performance, was what really set the mark for us to then say, well, then why aren't we marketing to the consumer?
Right.
And spending all of our dollars and resources pushing the plants at the consumer level, and then letting our licensees and partners really handle the trade level.
And do what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So you are the one that came up with a better plant, or how do you say it?
I wasn't. A better garden starts with a better plant.
Yeah, who came up with that?
Yeah, that was actually an ad agency in Kansas City that we started working with.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, it was crazy. I never knew what an ad agency was. I had no idea what an ad agency was.
You weren't a marketer.
No. So I was literally looking at billboards, and I was literally trying to find out who created the Happy Meal or is responsible for the Happy Meal. Because I was like, my consumer is a nurturer. She's got children. She's looking for a better, safer environment to feed her kids and to just get a break.
Right.
And McDonald's came up with this amazing Happy Meal and all their toys, and the rest is history.
The play place.
Exactly, the whole thing. They took care of everything. And so that mindset was like they were revolutionizing an industry. And I thought we could do the same thing with plants. And so I found out this company called Bernstein Rain down in Kansas City had done primarily most of that work. And
For McDonald's?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
And had worked for a lot of other consumer companies. And I went in and interviewed with them. I had to interview to be a customer.
Oh,
And I was told that I didn't have enough resources for them. I was just going to be a small, tiny little fish in a big pond. I mean, they're dealing with multi-million-dollar companies, ad buys, 10 million,
McDonald's.
50 million. Yeah. Exactly. And but the reason I got in there was one of the vice presidents, his ex-wife had worked for Better Homes and Gardens.
Oh, funny.
And so she dropped him a note and said, hey, there's this crazy guy, he's got this little brand, they're working on proven winners. You guys aren't doing anything in gardening, why don't you just give them a shot? So they gave me a shot. And that's all you can ask for.
Thanks to her.
A shot. Yeah, exactly. Well, after that interview, I knew I wasn't going to be a client. So I literally asked the president, I believe, and I said, you look super smart. What would you do if you were in my shoes?
Yeah.
And he literally, I'm not kidding, Janie, he literally took out a business card from 4 guys that had left his company, and they started a small little marketing agency, not more than probably 6 months earlier. And it had a picture of a chair that was on fire. And he said, son, this is you. Your butt's on fire. You've been asked and tasked to build a consumer brand, and you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And these guys are young guns, and I think they can help you. And today, they still are working for us.
That's
fantastic. And so long-term relationships have really helped me, and to really lean on other people who have expertise, and we do that all around the world.
Right, right. So I think what's pretty cool about you, Marshall, is you admit when you don't know something. You admit that, you know, oh, let me ask someone, let me ask this specialist, let me ask this tradesman. I think that's really something that gives Proven Winners an edge, right?
I hope so. I don't do it all the time. You know, I can be arrogant and cocky and, you know, competitive or whatever, but one of my friends, or when I was in college, there was a phrase called Kaizen. And during college, you know, I was in business management, and it was all about, you know, Toyota and Motorola, and they were just the experts, total quality management. And there was a phrase in Kaizen, in Japanese, called Kaizen, and it meant continuous improvement or continuous growth.
Okay.
And I really like the fact that Proven Winners is about that.
Yeah.
You know, one of our top selling plants, you know, Vista bubblegum.
Right.
We're looking for the next Vista bubblegum. We want to keep improving it.
I love that. I love that.
And so it's one thing to get there, but then to keep improving it, keep looking at other opportunities, and say, you know what, maybe we haven't arrived. Because when I talk to consumers and gardeners at garden clubs and all over the place, one of the things I ask is, you know, I know there's master gardeners in this audience. How many of you have a green thumb? Raise your hand. And like almost nobody is willing to do it.
Really?
You know, and so they've taken lots of coursework, but they realize that they haven't quite arrived. They don't know everything.
Right.
And that's what I love about the gardening community.
Yeah.
And your community.
Yeah.
They want to learn. They're seeing you do different things out in California that in Illinois we don't even think about doing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but who knows? Now my son lives in California.
There you go.
And I can point him to you because I haven't grown a plant there, and so I don't know anything. You know, and so just that continuous improvement, realizing that we haven't arrived, that we don't know everything.
Right.
And that with the gardening community, it's one of the things we changed our tagline from a better garden starts with a better plant to the brand gardeners trust. As millions of new gardeners came into gardening, they don't trust doctors now, right?
Right.
They come in self-diagnosed.
Right.
They had everything on the internet. I know it. Just give me this medicine.
Right.
And it's so frustrating for nurses and doctors and everything. Now, lawyers, people don't trust. They don't trust all of these sorts of, but gardeners, they still trust.
Yeah.
And it's a unique position that we don't take for granted.
Yeah.
You know, and people inevitably trust another gardener. I mean, why would a gardener lie about the success they've had about a plant?
Right. What's the point of that?
Yeah,
Right.
there's nothing to be gained, you know, and come see my yard, and people want to share. And in our industry, I ask people all the time, you know, whether they're growers or retailers or breeders or whatever the case may be, when they go on vacation, where do they go? They go visit other growers. And they stop and see a retail. Now, if I'm making mops or gutters, I'm not visiting the latest, you know, gutter shop.
Right.
I just don't.
Right.
But people in the industry do.
Yeah.
And that's just the passion that they have, and that's what's also helped make Proven Winners what it is because we've got all these vendors. I mean, unlike Coca-Cola, who has distributors and things.
Yeah.
You know, we've got thousands of independent, small, mom-and-pop growers and retailers who are choosing Proven Winners because they know they work, and they know they've got customers such as yourself who are looking for them.
Who are desperately looking for them.
So there's all that whole layer of the industry which we rely on, and that we're eternally grateful because we just produce little plants. You've seen our little plants. We're producing tiny little plants. Yeah. But someone else has to grow that plant.
Right.
Someone else has to retail that plant. And we're not in that business.
Right. Right. So, okay, hard question now. Ready? Yeah. So I posted on YouTube and I posted on Instagram asking the audience what question they had for you.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Ooh, boy.
The guy in Proven Winners. I got to be honest, 99.9% of the questions were, why can't I get Proven Winners where I live? Why can't I get Proven Winners in California, Florida, South Africa, Australia, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of understand after, I feel like I've asked this question 10 times privately off camera.
Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Next week, I've actually got our Australian partners coming in and making a
those
visit.
of you who asked about Australia, there you go.
The bunkers down there, they own the brand, and so they can, they work with our plant network, and they can introduce plants based on plants that work well for their climate. They do testings, but they're coming here to the States for a month to evaluate all of our trials, annuals, perennials, shrubs, and caladiums.
Interesting.
And they're actually going to our house plants. And they're actually going to check out our new eco containers as well.
Oh my goodness! I'm excited for you Australians.
Yeah, so
it's very exciting.
They are looking to build a brand and see what can be done. In South Africa, I was just talking with our licensee down there, Keith Kirsten. He's amazing down there, and he's owned garden centers and has been on television for years. And he and I and our director of new product development, he's actually headed down there this fall. I'll be there next summer, and so that's those guys. So those guys are fun. But to your question of why can't I find proven winners in Florida, you know, all the time in Texas or Oklahoma, or you know, and California for sure. And there's several different reasons, but one of the reasons was on the annual side when the business really began. Most of our genetics were tested here. Now, we were testing in Southern California, but Southern California is, we call it Malibu. You know, everything works there, right? You got cool nights and it's easy, you know, just plant it and maybe forget it.
You're fine.
I'm sorry for all you guys who live there. It is a lot harder than I'm saying. But, so part of it has been, you know, we haven't always done the best of bringing the best genetics for all those markets.
Okay.
And the seasons tend to be quite a bit different. You know, in Florida, we have a lot of northern birds that want the same experience that they have all summer long, and they want to do it in February. Well, we're not always geared up for that.
Yeah.
And so we have a couple of different things we're trying to do in that whole area is one, breed better plants and work with breeders for southern propagation. So here at Spring Meadow, you're actually going to see some of the results and some of the work that they're doing specifically for southern plants.
Okay.
Because we know that even though we trial in Florida and other places, we don't always have the right plants for these markets.
Okay.
So we need to do a better job. It's on our radar list. In fact, every single genus of plants that we have what's called a genetics roadmap. Okay. So there's a lot of genetics where we don't have heat tolerance, we don't have bloom, long endurance, we don't have disease resistance. There are some plants that, barberry for instance, are not sterile in some environments.
Okay, yeah.
And so they're not allowed to be sold.
They can't even be sold
Correct.
there. Yeah.
And so there's lots of those things. And so trying to breed sterility and other benefits that would be good. So that's a huge initiative. Secondly, most of our business, over 75% of our business goes through independent garden centers. And most of them are located east of the Mississippi and north of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 to 20 to 30, I don't even know how many more there are.
Yeah.
And so outside of that, it's box stores.
Right.
And box stores tend to have their own brands.
Yeah.
And their own private label, just like a grocery store would have their own private label. And so they'll pick and choose maybe 5 items from Proven Winners, our national plants of the year or some, and they don't carry a very long list of items.
Right.
And they say, well, we need more heat tolerant genetics, we need these, we need XYZ. And so they've given us those lists, and we're working on it, but it's a long time. It's a long development.
It takes time. Like you were saying, it takes a little bit longer when you pick the best of the best, but it's on your radar.
It takes a long time.
Yeah.
and you got to work with breeders that perhaps that hasn't been your focus, because those plants, they didn't perform where our typical customer is.
Right.
You know, and so even though those markets are large, we're not there yet. And so we're working on every day, Janie. We are working on heat tolerant plants. We actually
Don't worry, guys. I'm bugging him every day.
we moved our trials down to Homestead, Florida, and we've got probably 7 miles of trials down there.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've seen the caladium fields.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
And just for annuals, in fact, and we're doing some other things as well. So we hear ya. We're working on it.
I told you.
It's hard.
I told you it was going to be a hard question. All right, so we'll go back to the easy ones. Out of all of the plants that Proven Winners produces, annuals, shrubs, perennials, trees, what is your favorite?
Oh man, Jenny, you've got kids. You know, I can't pick between these kids. You know, but something
Just whisper it in
yeah,
our ear.
yeah. So maybe I'll do it by category. So
Okay, all right. Favorite annual.
My favorite annual, it's an oldie, but it's hard to beat. Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Supertunia Bordeaux.
Yeah.
It's just
gorgeous.
Drop dead gorgeous.
It's
the habit
beautiful.
is great, and the foliage is really, really dark. And a lot of people, you know, when they're buying stuff, maybe the retailer or maybe the plant doesn't have as much fertilizer, so the foliage is lighter. But
Right.
Bordeaux always looks amazing.
It does.
And it's
It really
tight,
does.
And so that's my favorite annual
Okay.
by far.
All right.
Happens to be my wife's favorite color too, so
Oh,
that doesn't
well, that helps.
that
That
doesn't hurt either.
Here you go, honey.
Yes, exactly. She just tells me where to plant, and then I do it. On perennials, probably a sleeper, and I don't know if you can even grow it. Amsonia.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I can. I don't think I can.
I like this Amsonia because for us it's like a shrub.
Okay.
And it's got beautiful like periwinkle blue colors early spring, and I plant yellow tulips right in front of them.
Oh, cute.
So I've got
Yes.
yellow and blue like first week of April. It's
Beautiful.
just amazing.
Beautiful.
And there's a new variety called String Theory that has just got this funky little shape and, you know, wiry habit and a little bit different color, but it's early spring color for us. But
and what zone are you?
5.
Okay.
5B.
All right.
Yeah, and but then the other cool one I also like, just because I think it's innovative, you know, is bush clematis. You know, I don't need a clematis that takes over.
Yeah.
I want
yeah.
one that sort of stays put.
Yeah.
And or stand by me. There's a blue and a pink one. I've got the blue ones, and
Beautiful.
I love them. I love them. So shrubs.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Oh
I'm sorry.
man, what is my favorite shrub? Oh, this is again my wife's favorite. Atlas rose.
Oh yeah.
Atlas
Oh
rose.
yeah, that's a
See,
good one.
You know, it took me. You know, I do all this marketing research all the time.
Yeah.
Like all the time, and so we've had, I don't know, almost 1 million people probably respond to our surveys. And one of the questions is, what's your favorite flower color?
Uh-huh.
And, you know, over all the 23 years we've asked that questions, purple and pink have always been number 1 and number 2.
Uh-huh.
Only during a recession was that color different. And it was blue.
Interesting.
In 2008, 2017, recessions times, you know, and the color changed. But you know what? For like 20 years, I bought red roses for my wife, and I never asked her what her favorite flower color was.
She's sitting over here.
Yeah. And you know what? My daughter, probably when she was 10, she said, you know, Mom really doesn't like red roses.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
She likes these peachy, apricot-y colors.
Aww.
And so I had to special order these and do that. And then Spring Meadow came out with a rose of that color. And guess what's in front of our house?
Oh, that's very sweet.
Atlas rose for my wife.
Oh,
So,
that's very sweet.
I'm just getting into the trees, so I don't have a favorite tree
Okay.
yet. Lollipop would probably be it. I believe it's a flowering crab. Beautiful habit.
Okay.
It blooms its head off. You can't even see the foliage when that thing blooms. My favorite.
How about your favorite house plant? That's a new one.
So, I like to kill them. So I'm not very good at this. So
We got to get you an easy one, like a pothos or something like that.
I can do a little bit better than that,
Oh,
than
okay.
a pothos. But the one that has been the champion for me, both at our house as well as in our office, in a dark room, basically a closet,
Yeah.
or you know, a bathroom inside the middle of our, is Birkin.
Oh, interesting.
You just can't kill it.
Oh,
you know?
really?
And so I love it.
Oh, that's fun. I love that plant.
yeah.
I love that one.
I do too. I don't even know if we still sell it, but I love it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's a good
so
one.
It's easy, and I heard, I was learning, we did the Newport Flower Show a couple weeks ago, and I was learning from the people who were working the booth with me
Yeah.
that you'll get more variegation with the light, and so I rarely see the variegation, but theirs were like hugely variegated.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, more sunlight will do that, but if you throw it in a bathroom, it's going to be a green plant. And that's what I have.
But it survived.
Oh, yeah.
So then that's all you need to know.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, that's
So,
great.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you're a gardener.
Yeah.
Right? It sounds
Yeah.
like you're a pretty big gardener at
Oh, yeah.
home. I've seen pictures of your raised beds.
Yeah.
what do you think makes a good gardener? Are you born with it, or?
No. I think it's that Kaizen approach that you want to keep learning.
Yeah.
You want to keep trialing.
Yeah.
That you're going to kill a plant. Sometimes it's your fault. Sometimes it's the plant's fault.
Right.
But who cares? Just keep learning.
Try
keep
again.
Trying,
Try again.
And so having an attitude of, the end of the world, we have a saying in our office, it's just a plant.
Right.
It's
okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
You can get another one.
It's okay.
We'll sell you
You're
another
not a
one.
failure if you killed it.
Exactly.
Even an easy one like supertunia Vista bubblegum. I've killed them before,
Yeah.
Forgetting to water it or something.
Exactly. and never feeding it and
right.
and
stuff like that.
And moms know, hey, feed your kids, and dads do the same thing. And when you don't feed your plants, they're gonna misbehave.
Right.
They're gonna get leggy and not flower and everything.
Yeah.
And so I think the word gardener is really a very fluid one. In fact, years ago I said, our new audience, they're really not gardeners. They don't want to know, the difference between a indeterminate and a determinate tomato.
Okay.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care if it's sterile or non-sterile, maybe. But they want it to perform and look like the lifestyle that they're trying to emulate.
Yeah.
And it just looks good, and it makes them feel successful.
Right.
And they can repeat it every single year and just not have to worry about it. There is so much stress in people's lives and so much mental anxiety that folks have. The last thing that should bring you anxiety is your garden.
Right. That should be an anxiety reliever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So go ahead, buy the same plant that you've been buying for 10 years.
Yeah.
As long as it's proven winners, of course.
Of course.
Right? No, all the other ones are called proven losers. I didn't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's proven winners and there's all the rest proven losers.
We don't talk about those.
Yeah, no. They haven't graduated to proven winners yet.
Okay.
But,
maybe one day though.
Yeah. So that's what's with gardening is, be willing to keep trying. And we're here to help. I mean, there's a reason why our phone number is on every single container.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We want to talk to people.
Yeah.
Try calling Coca-Cola or area car. Try calling Ford.
Yeah. Right?
You're not going to get someone who is going to talk you through the problems.
I've called the hotline before, and it's very helpful. They answer your question, and it's fantastic. I'll put the number down below just so you guys know. Just so you know, Proven Winners, if you have any questions, you can call and get someone on the phone, and they can walk you through it, talk you through whatever issue is going on with your plant, which is pretty cool.
40% of the calls are not our plants.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And we just hang up on those people.
No,
of course not. We talk to them. And that's one of the opening questions. Tell me about your garden.
Do you say, well, you might want to try Proven Winners next time?
No, we don't even. By the time they're done with the conversation, they've been convinced. You know what? Maybe I should have tried the Proven Winners plant.
Well,
but
that's great.
We know that we don't have all the best plants, and that's what's great as well. The gardening has
Kaizen,
so many
you're
different
always
flavors.
improving,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So give us a sneak peek at what's next for Proven Winners. I know there's Proven Winners groupies out there just like me, and what's next? What's coming next for you guys?
Yeah, well, we're always looking at new plant categories. The house plants is just starting.
Yeah.
And right now, I'd say primarily the mode is working with collectors who have brought on plants, but there hasn't been a heck of a lot of breeding in house plants.
Oh, okay.
There wasn't a market for it forever.
Right.
Until the 70s and 80s, and then for 40 years.
You just gave me chills. I'm excited.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it yet. I think they probably hide it from me, so I don't tell anybody about it yet.
Oh my goodness.
And that houseplant market is pretty cyclical, and finicky. Something's Birkins are hot and then they're not.
Right.
And it's hard for a retailer. I'd hate to be a retailer on that. Sometimes it's really hard, but our Leaf Joy houseplant folks are on the trail to be working with breeders and smaller breeders who are looking for maybe smaller numbers and not have to worry about producing 1 million of a plant that has to serve the whole North American market from Florida.
Right.
That's just not the model.
Right.
And so that's not the model they've chosen with us. And so I think there's some exciting stuff happening in that area.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
How cool.
From what's happening on the whole pollinator and nativar and that whole less water, all those things are attributes that we're looking for.
Can you explain nativar a little bit?
Yeah, so nativar, and I'm not the technical person, but the way I understand it is is, many of your native plants, they tend to not be very pretty in the garden center. And then garden centers, bring those products in and they just sit.
They don't
unless
sell.
you've got someone who really knows what they're looking for and is particular about it, they're gonna sit and not be sold, and then they get thrown away. And then that's just a waste of resources as well.
Totally.
And so what, the approach that most of our breeders and folks that we're working with and any breeding that we're doing in-house is taking the attributes of a native plant. Maybe it's got, fire resistance or hardiness or an extended bloom time or earlier or later bloom time or sterility or whatever the case may be, whatever that benefit is, and trying to breed that into another plant. And so we call them native R's. So it may not be, so a phlox is a good example. Phlox, we have annual phlox, but then you can breed in a Texas native phlox.
Okay.
And so now you're going to get maybe some extended heat tolerance, maybe you get some extended zone, and so you can go further south with it. Maybe it blooms extended period of time. And so that's really what I see most of our breeders, or the breeders I've heard from or have been in touch with through our team, is really taking the best qualities of native plant and breeding them into others of the same genus, and taking the best attributes out of those.
That's great.
And not doing it through gene manipulation or anything. This is traditional breeding.
Right.
And so that's exciting to see as well. And then I think lastly, it's you're wearing the perfect shirt for the industry, green, right? And our industry, we've got a lot to do to be even greener.
Right.
And so we're constantly talking about this and looking at, better practices, whether it's chemicals that are being used or growth regulators or insects to manage insect populations, best practices with water, best practices with fuel. All those types of things. And then, most recently, that we introduced our Eco Grande.
Right.
We've got a quart coming out, and people have already asked
exciting.
for the next size as
That's
well.
That's great, yeah.
And so now we're actually looking at tags and trying to see if we can make tags out of it.
That would be helpful, because it was hard to take the tags off.
But then some people are like, well, then the tag's going to break down, and I save them.
Well, there's that too.
So, we say, just go to our idea boards, and we have all your plants posted online, like a Pinterest board, so you can do that. But then also, even with our plastic uses, our container that we'll be using, the plastic container, will probably be about 90% of our containers used. So only about 7 to 10% of our containers will be in the Eco Grande, just because of that's all we can produce.
Yeah.
And that's all the market is willing to bear right now.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And so how can we make that plastic that we are using even that much more efficient? So on our containers next year, all of our small containers are actually going to be made. This is the first time you'll hear about it. We haven't even announced this yet. But they're going to be made from post-consumer recycled plastic.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it's already had one life. It's having its second life with our plants.
That's fantastic.
So we're really thrilled about that. We're hoping that even on the tag side, we'll be able to do those types of things as well. So those are
the amount
things.
Of pots I go through, just having it be recycled. It would just, even just me, just little old me would make a huge difference. So I think that's fantastic. Well, it sounds like there's really exciting things. I just love it. I love that you guys are constantly improving, and even when you come out with the new improved version of each plant, it's so exciting because I know it's going to be that much better. So I definitely see the Kaizen that you're talking about. So
and our breeders have been doing this for years, but we really started taking a harder look at even some of our annuals, and instead of just introducing another new annual, how can we improve something that's been 10, because most plants in our industry don't last 10 years.
Right.
Annuals, it's even shorter.
Really?
Yeah, they don't last. They just cycle. People come out with new stuff, and one of the hallmarks of Proven Winners and why so many breeders enjoy working with us is they're getting paid licensing fees for every one of those plants sold, and so that plant stays in there for 5-10 years. They're more likely to bring those plants to Proven Winners, and then when they see an improvement, they bring that to us as well.
That's great.
And so constantly improving those, because we know there's a better one. I think
that's great, and I know all of you watching love that too, and just you know, having the confidence in that plant is huge.
Yep.
Well, Marshall, thank you so much. I know how busy you are. We've got a big event here at Spring Meadow, so I know you've got a lot of stuff to do, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and to talk to everybody watching, and for answering some hard questions. Sorry about that.
Keep asking those hard ones.
It's good. We're
Believe me, we've heard it before.
We're going to keep bugging you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep.
I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.